The Pollard affair is still an open wound in Israel-US relations. So far, the US government has resisted any leniency with regard to Pollard, who many argued was neither fairly nor even-handedly treated by the federal justice system. The high-level effort periodically made by Israel to prevail on US presidents to let Pollard go attests to the commitment for moralism that animate Israeli decision-makers in the matter of Jonathan Pollard. At the same time, in the United States, American Jews have not significantly suffered from the Pollard affair. Even in the midst of the Pollard affair, the prominent American Jewish attorney Abraham Sofer headed a team of professionals sent to Israel to study the extent of the damage done to the US by Pollard. The professional appointed by Israel to deal with Sofer was Avraham Shalom, Mossad veteran and member in the Eichmann kidnapping team in Argentina. Sofer returned to the US feeling that Shalom did not cooperate in the effort and that the damage to US interests by Pollard could not be wholly assessed. American Jews could explain the Pollard affair as an aberration and Pollard as an exception. The vast majority of American Jews, the argument is, are loyal to the United States and would not violate this loyalty even if Israel's interests are at stake. In the land of the free, they feel brave enough to encourage and deepen the identification between US and Israeli interests. But one may pause to ask, should anyone consider the remote possibility that the rule of 3 strikes and you are out may apply? I mean to say, if Israel again and then again repeats the Pollard pattern, would US public opinion experience a shift? Should professionals, lawyers, security officials, foreign affairs experts consider such a scenario and its ramifications? Again, the question arises, if Israel considers itself a representative of the Jewish people, the only state of the Jewish people, what does it owe the communities of diaspora? Let me summarize. The question is not whether Israel has a commitment to world Jewry. Of course it does. Rather, we may ask, what does Israel mean when it invites us to ask, but it is good for the Jews? Does she mean Jews in Israel? Does she mean Jews everywhere? Does she mean that what is good for Israel must also be good for Jews? Or that what is good for diaspora Jews must also be good for Israel? Does she differentiate between considerations of moralism and realism? And does it do so unilaterally? In other words, Israel's commitment to world Jewry is ridden by ambiguity. The nature and contours of this commitment is the larger framework of Israeli foreign policy are neither evident nor clear. The nature of the commitment revolves around such questions as Israel's self-understanding vis-a-vis diasporic Jewish communities. Is Israel the principal leader, or is it an equal partner, seeking and extending respect to the needs and values of the other? Is it a rescuer, primarily a deliverer of the exiled back to the homeland? Is it merely working to get support for its own agenda, be it commercial, scientific, or military, and uses the local community as a convenient vehicle to pursue these goals? This self-understanding is complicated by the self-understanding of the diasporic communities. Are they all the same? Do they have different needs and worldviews? Is Israel their priority, or do they prefer their own country? And then there is the question of who counts as a reliable spokesperson for the community. Who should Israel contact to find out what American Jews want and need? All of these questions are further complicated by the fact that foreign affairs at any given time are not monolithic. In any government at any time, there are many actors, professionals and non-professionals, competing for influence and sometimes making contradictory decisions. Thus, there has been for a very long time a fundamental disagreement and tension between the Israeli Foreign Ministry and the security establishment about activities in foreign countries. Note that professionals at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs were not consulted either in the Eichmann or the Pollard affair. There is enough literature to show that Israeli foreign affairs are dominated by the security professionals. Security formed and minded professionals tend to be unilateralists, amoral, and pessimistic. Hardcore Zionists they are, they see Israel's interest as supreme, and Jewish life in diaspora as exilic, a historical relic of the past, inferior to life in Israel. Here comes the bind. Israel does not operate in a vacuum. Its behavior is influenced and shaped by diasporic communities with which it interacts. Don Giovanni and Donna Elvira may shed some light on this relationship. As a Don Giovanni, Israel is exceedingly charismatic and seductive, bold, self-reliant, capable of fantastic adventures, remember the Eichmann abduction or Entebbe. It's hard not to fall in love with, especially if you are a Donna Elvira, somewhat insecure and not free of self-doubt. Each partner then fits the other and a neurotic relationship thrives. The question then is whether professionals on both sides are willing to pause, reflect on their neurosis, and maybe even let some of it go in favor of a more sober, less charismatic arrangements. The Jewish communities abroad will not be able to overcome their neurotic dependence unless they overcome their uncritical attraction to the image of Israel as at once the handsome hero and the victim about to be thrown into the sea. Israel will only be able to overcome its sometimes callous, unilateralist, even reckless attitude if it curbs its machismo in favor of the recognition of the other, the diasporic communities, as equal and autonomous partners. The old Jewish principle that all of Israel, the Jewish people, are arevim ze lase, needs reinterpretation, maybe even restoration. Looking at Eichmann's abduction and Pollard's hiring, I have tried to show that the current ambiguity has resulted in much denied and ignored misery and pain. Maybe it's a civilian input, person in great suit and uncharismatic professionalism, deploying more deliberation and less unilateralism, could help interject a measure of sober morality, maturity, to this delicate and important relationship. Thank you.